Chloe Davis and I had been just friends for 24 years. Then she showed up at my door, clutching a pillow, and said she wanted to pretend to be a couple. She started calling me babe. She'd lie on my lap, wearing my basketball jersey. She'd link her arm through mine in front of my coworkers. And the whole time, I told myself it was all just an act, until I heard another guy ask her out. I snatched her phone and said, "She's busy." She just blinked at me and asked what I meant. I'm so screwed. When the guy's voice was still coming through the phone. "Chloe, are you free tomorrow night? I know this great new French place." Chloe was curled up on my sofa, wearing my old Lakers jersey, bare legs tucked under her, a potato chip sticking out of her mouth. She reached for the phone. I pulled it back, holding to my own mouth. "She's busy." The guy on the other end paused. "I'm sorry, who is this?" My throat felt tight. My own voice sounded cold, unfamiliar. Her boyfriend. I hung up. The living room was suddenly so quiet I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Chloe slowly finished her chip, then licked the salt off her fingertips. "Noah Carter," she said, tilting her head. "Who did you just say you were?" I stared at the dark screen of her phone. My brain was a tangled mess. What did I just do? Did I just claim my best friend as my own? I tried to sound casual, normal. That guy's voice. He just didn't sound like a good person. She leaned forward, and the collar of the jersey gaped a little. "So you pretended to be my boyfriend." "Not pretended." I fumbled for words. "Aren't we acting for the show? Does the show involve you hanging up on my calls?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She shifted, kneeling on the couch cushions and inching closer. "Noah," she said, her voice softer now. "Don't tell me you're—" I shot up from the couch. "I'm gonna go take a shower." I practically fled to the bathroom. I turned the faucet on full blast, letting the cold water run over my head, trying to clear it. It only helped a little. The guy in the mirror still had bright red ears. What the hell was that? Hearing that guy call her Chloe. Hearing him ask her to dinner at a French restaurant. My hand moved faster than my brain. There was zero thought involved. This wasn't right. Chloe and I have known each other since we were in diapers. At 5, she pushed me into a mud puddle. At 7, she stole my favorite toy car. At 12, she drew a pig on my homework. At 18, she got her heart broken, drank way too much, and threw up all over me. For 24 years, our friendship has been purer than distilled water. Until 3 months ago. Her mom had been hounding her about getting married until she finally snapped. She showed up at my apartment, clutching a pillow. "Noah, code red. I need you to be my fake boyfriend." I was in the middle of a video game and didn't even turn around. "Ask someone else. I don't have time to star in your personal rom-com." She threw the pillow on my head. "It has to be you. We're comfortable. It'll be believable. My parents have watched you grow up. They'd have to be idiots to believe it. Just try it. You're single anyway. We'll be helping each other out." At the time, I thought it was the stupidest idea I'd ever heard. But now, I looked down at my trembling hands. It felt like something had started to go off the rails 3 months ago. 2, when I got out of the shower, she was gone from the living room. I felt a wave of relief, followed by a confusing pang of disappointment. I went to my room and lay down, staring at the ceiling. The details of that day, 3 months ago, suddenly felt crystal clear. She was standing at my door holding that ugly carrot-shaped pillow, her eyes red-rimmed. My mom said if I don't find a boyfriend soon, she's going to make me a profile on every dating app known to man. I let her in and got her a Coke. That doesn't mean you can just randomly draft someone into service. "You're not random," she said, plopping down on my floor, cross-legged. "You're my best friend." That was the line that got me. That's what made me soften. Fine. I'd play along. At first, it was purely an act. We put on a show for her parents, sitting side by side on the couch, not even holding hands. Her mom asked how we got together. Chloe didn't even blink. I just suddenly realized how great Noah is. I nodded along like a puppet. The second we left her parents' house, we were back to normal. She'd punch my arm. "Not bad. Your acting skills are decent." I nudge her back. Obviously. When did it start to change? I think it was the first time she called me babe. We were at her parents' dinner table. Her mom had piled so much food onto my plate, it looked like a mountain. Chloe casually took my plate and scraped half of it on her own. "Mom, stop. You're going to make him explode." Babe's gotta watch his figure. I almost dropped my fork. She had never, ever called me that. My whole life, it was Noah Carter, or when she was mad, "Noah, you idiot." That one word, babe, sent a jolt down my spine that lasted for minutes. On the way home, I asked her, "What did you call me back there?" She blinked. "We have to make it convincing. Calling you by your full name is too formal. But you didn't have to call me cheesy." She grinned. "I think it sounds nice." From that day on, she started dropping it in here and there. Sometimes on the phone, "Babe, can you grab that package for me?" Sometimes when she came over to bum food, "Babe, is dinner ready yet?" Every single time, I had to take a few seconds to compose myself before I could answer. I kept telling myself it was part of the act, but I knew, deep down, something was different. 3 the next day was Saturday. I slept until noon. When I came out of my room, she was at the dining table eating takeout, still wearing my jersey, and it looked like she wasn't wearing any pants underneath. I immediately averted my eyes. "Where are your clothes?" "In the wash," she said, chewing on her fork. "What's the big deal? It's just a shirt. Don't be so stingy." It wasn't about being stingy. It was about the way that jersey looked on her. The collar was wide, and the hem barely grazed the tops of her thighs. The visual was intense. I quietly poured myself a glass of water. "What's the plan for today?" she asked. "Sleep." "No way. You're taking me shopping." "Not happening." "Babe." There was again. My hand jerked, and I sloshed some water onto the counter. "Can you just be normal?" "What part of this isn't normal?" she said, swinging her legs. "Boyfriends are supposed to take their girlfriend shopping. It's like the law. We're fake. Fake relationships require real commitment." In the end, I went. At the mall, she slipped her arm through mine like it was the most natural thing in the world. My whole body went rigid. "Relax," she whispered. "It's part of the act." Right, but I couldn't relax. The soft curve of her breast was pressed against my arm, and the scent of her shampoo filled my head. We'd linked arms before, back in college when I'd tag along on our shopping trips. Back then, it felt like holding onto a coat rack. There was nothing to it. But now, every point of contact felt supercharged. Then she pulled me toward a Victoria's Secret. "Whoa, hold on," I said, stopping at the entrance. "I don't think I need to go in there with you." "Come on. I need your opinion." "My opinion on what?" She had already dragged me inside. A saleswoman greeted us enthusiastically. Chloe pointed at a few things. "Can I try these in my size?" I stood awkwardly amidst a sea of lace and satin, not knowing what to do with my hands. She held up a black lace bra, positioning it in front of her. "What do you think of this one?" I didn't know where to look. "It's fine." "Just fine?" She laughed. Typical guy. She ended up buying 2. As the cashier was bagging them, she smiled at me. "Your girlfriend has a great figure. She'll look amazing in anything." I managed a dry, "Uh-huh." As we left, she poked my arm. "Your ears were so red in there. It's hot in the store." "Oh, right." She drew out the words. "It was the heat." That night, I had a dream. It was filled with images of her wearing that black lace bra. I woke up to a damp pair of boxers. I lay in bed, staring into the darkness. "It's over, Noah. You're having dirty thoughts about your best friend." For on Monday, I left for work early to avoid walking with her. I was distracted all day. During an afternoon meeting, a manager from another department, Mark, tried to pin a project error on me. I was about to defend myself when the conference room door opened. Chloe was standing there, holding a latte. "Babe, you forgot your phone." She walked in, placed the phone on the table in front of me, and then turned her gaze to Mark. "Mark, right? I overheard you outside talking about this data point. I happened to see the meeting minutes from last Friday, and it was explicitly stated that your department was responsible for that deliverable. Should I pull them up for you?" The entire room went silent. Mark's face paled slightly. "You are." "I'm Noah's girlfriend," she said with a bright smile. "I also work here. In legal." "Oh, right. Maybe I misremembered." She turned back to me, her voice softening. "I'll come get you after work." I just nodded, stunned. After she left, the vibe in the room had completely shifted. A colleague leaned over. "Noah, when did you get a girlfriend? And why didn't you tell us she's gorgeous? And a total bulldog for you. No wonder you've been rushing out of here every day." I mumbled some non-answers, my mind a complete mess. When I got downstairs after work, she was really there, waiting for me. My coworkers whistled and cheered as she confidently linked her arm through mine. Once we were out of earshot, I finally spoke. "How did you know about the meeting?" "I guessed," she said with a wink. "You were out of it this morning, even forgot your phone. Figured you were heading for an ambush." "In the meeting minutes, I made it up." I've never seen your team's meeting minutes in my life. I stopped in my tracks. You were bluffing. Is that a problem? She said, looking proud of herself. It's the only way to deal with guys like that. My heart felt warm, but also a little pained. She was too good to me. Way better than a best friend should be. Chloe, I said, stopping. You don't have to do this. Do what? Defend me, pretend to be my girlfriend, and call me babe. She looked at me, her eyes shining. What if I'm not pretending? My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Exactly what it sounds like, she said, starting to walk again. I'm starving. Let's go get food. I barely tasted my dinner that night. What if I'm not pretending? What did that mean? Was she for real? But we've been friends for 24 years. This change was so abrupt. And if she really liked me, why go about it in this convoluted way? Why not just tell me? No, wait. She was probably just messing with me. Chloe has always loved to see me squirm. This had to be her latest game. I spent the next few days actively avoiding her. I left early, came home late, and did my best not to run into her. My replies to her texts were short and to the point. On Friday night, I worked late, getting home after 10. When I opened my apartment door, I saw the lamp in the living room was still on. She was curled up on the sofa watching a movie. She looked over when she heard me come in. You're home. Yeah. I took off my shoes, planning to head straight for my room. No. I stopped. Did I do something wrong? Her voice was quiet. No. Then why are you avoiding me? I turned around. She was sitting on the sofa, hugging her knees, her eyes bright in the dim light. I'm not avoiding you. Liar, she said, pausing the movie. You've been weird since Monday. I walked over to the couch and smelled alcohol on her breath. Have you been drinking? A little, she said, looking up at me. Needed some liquid courage to ask you what's going on. She patted the empty cushion next to her. Sit down. Let's talk. I hesitated for a second before sitting. The movie was paused on a scene where the two leads were kissing. The atmosphere felt a little charged. Noah, she began softly. We've been fake dating for 3 months. Yeah. My parents really think we're a couple. Yeah. So do yours. Yeah. And all our friends and co-workers. So. She turned to face me, her eyes glistening. So, can a fake show become real? My heart hammered against my ribs. What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said, she said, moving closer. Noah, I like you. My mind went completely blank. You're drunk. I'm not drunk, she insisted, her gaze unwavering. I'm perfectly clear-headed. She reached out and touched my cheek. Her fingertips were hot. We've known each other for 24 years. I always thought you were just my best friend, nothing more. That is, until we started this whole fake dating thing. When you call me babe, my throat was dry. Is that part of the act, or is it real? What do you think? Her eyes curved into a smile. What kind of best friend calls another friend that? And when you came to my office and claimed me, was that real too? Yep. And wearing my jersey? Yep. The lingerie that day? That too, she said, a blush creeping up her neck, but she didn't break eye contact. It was all on purpose. I looked at her, and a wave of frustration washed over me. Chloe, are you trying to mess with my head? How am I messing with you? You flirt with me, and just when I start to believe it, you say it's an act. Now you're saying it's real. Which one am I supposed to believe? She looked stunned. You believe it. I shot up from the couch. Of course I do. Her eyes lit up, and she stood up too. Noah. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. We both froze. Who would be here this late? I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. My blood ran cold. Who is it? Chloe asked. I could barely get the words out. Your mom. And my mom. Through the door, we could hear their cheerful voices. Noah, Chloe, open up. We brought late-night snacks. My first instinct was to shove Chloe toward her bedroom. Change your clothes. She looked down at the silk nightgown she was wearing, the haze of alcohol vanishing instantly as she bolted for her room. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Our two mothers stood there, holding bags of pizza and a 6-pack of beer, identical grins on their faces. Mom, Mrs. Davis, what are you guys doing here? We were just in the neighborhood and saw your lights on, my mom said, peering inside. Where's Chloe? She's asleep. Just then, Chloe's bedroom door opened, and she walked out, now wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants. Annie, Mom, what are you guys doing here? Just came to check on you too, her mom said, setting the pizza on the coffee table. Perfect timing. We can all have a late-night snack together. Chloe and I made eye contact. We were both thinking the same thing. We're so dead. There were still beer bottles on the table, the TV was paused on a kissing scene, and the two of us had just... My ears started to burn again. Our parents had been under the impression we were dating, but they'd never staged a surprise visit before. What was going on? Chloe, you look like you've lost weight, my mom said, pulling her in for a closer look. Noah, haven't you been taking good care of her? He's been taking great care of me, Annie. Chloe jumped in, seamlessly slipping back in her role and grabbing my arm. Work has just been really busy lately. You have to take care of yourself, no matter how busy you are, her mom said, giving me a knowing look. Especially when you're young. You have to know when to have some restraint. I almost choked on my own spit. Chloe's face turned bright red. Mom, what are you talking about? All right, I'll stop, her mom laughed. Let's eat. That pizza was the most stressful meal of my life. Our mothers were watching our every interaction like hawks. So, are you two used to living together now? My mom asked suddenly. Chloe and I both froze. We don't. It's been great, Chloe said, pinching my thigh hard under the table. Noah takes really good care of me. That's good to hear, her mom said, nodding in satisfaction. Actually, we came here tonight because there's something we want to talk to you about. A sense of doom washed over me. You remember your Aunt Susan? Her son works at the county clerk's office. He was saying there's an opening with a lovely justice of the peace next week. A really great time to get your marriage license. The piece of pepperoni on Chloe's fork fell back on her plate. A marriage license? Yes, you two have been dating for a while, living together for 3 months. It's time to make it official. My mind was a complete blank. This act had gone way too far. Mom, Mrs. Davis, that's really sudden. I try to salvage the situation. We're not ready. Ready for what? My mom patted my arm. You have the apartment, you have stable jobs, you're in love. If you make it official, we can stop worrying. Under the table, Chloe was gripping my hand so tightly her knuckles were white. Her palm was slick with sweat. The thing is, we were thinking of having a destination wedding, Chloe blurted out. We're in no rush to get the license. A destination wedding sounds lovely. You can get the license first, then travel. It was hopeless. Our moms were dead set on us tying the knot. After another half hour of painful maneuvering, we finally got them out the door. The moment it clicked shut, Chloe and I both sagged against it, letting out a huge sigh of relief. Now, what? I asked. She ran a hand through her hair. I have no idea. Should we just tell them the truth? If we tell them now, they'll kill us, she said with a grim smile. Besides, breaking up right after I told you I liked you would look pretty fake. My heart started racing again. What you said before, was that real? She looked up at me, her eyes shining under the dim light. What do you think? I looked at her, and I was suddenly done with guessing. For 24 years, I had never once thought about her this way. But for the last 3 months, all the awkwardness, the racing heart, the jealousy, the dreams, they were all pointing to one answer. I think I like her, too, and not in a best friend kind of way. Chloe, I took a deep breath. Let's give it a try. She froze. Try what? Dating for real. After I said it, the living room was so quiet you could hear us breathing. Chloe's eyes were wide, like a startled kitten. You, what? I said. I repeated, let's try dating for real. She was still staring. Why? What do you mean, why? Why all of a sudden? It's not sudden, I said, scratching the back of my neck. I think I might have liked you for a while now. I just didn't realize it. She slowly stood up straight, taking a step closer to me. When did it start? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe the first time you called me babe. Or maybe when you were wearing my jersey. Or when you showed up at my office. Her eyes lit up. So you weren't completely clueless? No. Then why were you avoiding me all week? Because I couldn't figure it out, I sighed. We've been best friends for 24 years. This is weird. What's weird about it? She took another step closer. It's like, I try to think of an analogy. It's like my left hand knowing my right hand its whole life, and then suddenly realizing my right hand is 60. She laughed. That is the worst metaphor I've ever heard. We were close now, so close I could count her eyelashes. Noah, she said softly, are you sure about this? Because once we start, I'm not letting go. I looked at her, and the scene felt strangely familiar. 5 years old, pushing me into the mud. 7, stealing my toy car. 12, drawing on my homework. 18, crying on my shoulder after a first heartbreak. 24 years of memories flashed through my mind. They stopped on the image of her from 3 months ago, standing in my doorway with that stupid carrot pillow, her eyes red as she said, "You're my best friend." But I didn't want to be just her best friend anymore. "I'm sure." She smiled, her eyes curving into crescents. "Well then, boyfriend, can I get a hug now?" I opened my arms. She crashed in my chest, burying her face against me. She was soft and warm. It was different from any other hug we'd ever shared. "I've actually liked you for a long time," she mumbled into my shirt. "Since college." I froze. "That long ago?" But you always treated me like one of the guys." I was too scared to say anything. "So, the fake dating thing was a strategy," she said, looking up with a sly grin, "to force you to acknowledge my feminine charms." I poked her cheek. "You're a schemer, and you still fell for it." As I held her, something started to feel different. Her body was too soft, her scent was too good, and we were standing too close. I pulled back a little. She seemed to sense it, and her face flushed. "Noe, it's a normal reaction," I said, looking away awkwardly. "I do like you, after all." Her eyes sparkled as she looked at me. Then, she stood on her toes and quickly kissed my cheek. "A reward for your honesty." I touched the spot she'd kissed, frozen in place. "That's it. What else?" She tilted her head. "In your dreams." She turned and walked toward her room, pausing at the door to look back. "Good night, boyfriend." The door clicked shut. I stood in the living room for a long time, without moving. The spot on my cheek was still tingling. It all happened so fast, it felt like a dream. But the warmth and scent of her still lingered in my arms, Doc. I was really, officially dating Chloe Davis. My childhood friend, my best buddy, was now my girlfriend. And it felt pretty damn good. The next morning, I woke up early. I lay in bed, dazed, not entirely sure if last night had been a dream. Then I heard a knock on my door. "Noah, time to get up." It was Chloe's voice. I stumbled out of bed and opened the door. She was standing there, fully dressed, holding a spatula. I made breakfast. I followed her to the dining table in a daze. There were plates of fried eggs, bacon, and toast. And it actually looked pretty good. "When did you learn to cook?" "I've been practicing," she said, tipping her chin up proudly. "In preparation for being a good girlfriend." The word made my ears burn. We sat down to eat, and the atmosphere was a little shy and awkward. After 24 years of friendship, this was our first breakfast as a couple, and neither of us knew what to say. "It's Saturday," she said, taking a bite of toast. "Any plans?" "No idea. Let's go on a date." Her eyes lit up. "We're a couple now. We should go on a proper date." "Where?" "An amusement park?" I frowned. "Too crowded and hot." "A movie?" "Boring." "Noah," she kicked me under the table. "You're my boyfriend now. Could you please show a little enthusiasm for dating?" I looked at her pouting face and had to stifle a laugh. "How about the aquarium? I know you like fish." Her face instantly brightened. "How did you know that?" "You retweeted something about it in college. Said you want to go with your boyfriend someday." She stared at me. "You remember that?" "Yeah," I said, looking down at my orange juice. "I remember everything about you." The words felt a little cheesy coming out, but they were true. 24 years. Her likes, her habits, her little quirks, they were all burned into my brain. Before, it was just stuff a best friend would know. Now it was stuff a boyfriend knew. She was quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Noah, you could be pretty smooth sometimes." "What?" "Nothing. Hurry up and eat. We're leaving." The aquarium was packed, mostly with couples. As we walked through the underwater tunnel, she excitedly pointed out all the different fish. The light, filtered through the water, danced across her face. I just watched her, thinking how good this felt. Much better than being just friends. "Noah," she said, turning to me, "let's take a picture." She pulled out her phone, and we leaned our heads together for a selfie. After she took it, she looked at the picture and laughed. "It doesn't look any different from our old pictures." "There's a difference." "What?" I leaned down and kissed her. It was light and fast, over in a second. She froze, and I could literally watch the blush spread across her face. "I wouldn't have done that before," I said. "Boyfriend privileges." She bit her lip to hide a smile, her eyes crinkling. "Well, in that case, girlfriends have privileges too." "What privileges?" She suddenly leaned in and planted a real kiss on my lips. That, a little kid nearby yelled, "Mommy, that boy and girl are kissing." We sprang apart, pretending to be intensely interested in the fish, our ears burning. It started raining as we left the aquarium. Neither of us had an umbrella, so we made a dash for the nearest subway station, getting soaked in the process. Her hair was plastered to her face, and tiny water droplets clung to her eyelashes. I reached out and brushed them away. "Noah," she said suddenly, "we're really together now, right?" "I guess so." "Then, I want to exercise another girlfriend privilege tonight." "What privilege is that?" She leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Moving into your room." My brain short-circuited. "What?" "You heard me," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Is it weird for a boyfriend and girlfriend to sleep together?" "Isn't it? A little fast. We've known each other for 24 years. How is that fast? That's different." She leaned closer, her damp hair brushing against my neck. "What are you afraid of?" "I'm not afraid." "Then it's settled." She pulled me into the subway car, her hand shockingly warm in mine. My head was spinning. Wasn't this moving a little too quickly? Sure, we'd known each other for 2 decades, but we'd only been a real couple for 12 hours. We didn't talk on the way home. She held my hand the whole time, tracing little circles on my palm with her finger. It tickled, but it felt like she was tracing them directly on my heart. When we got back to our building, she made a beeline for my apartment door. I stopped her just before she could go in my bedroom. "Wait," I grabbed her arm. "Are you serious about this?" "Having second thoughts?" she asked, looking over her shoulder. "No, it's just..." She suddenly burst out laughing. "I'm kidding. You should see your face." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, along with a strange twinge of disappointment. "But," she said, leaning in, "a kiss should be fine, right?" This time, it wasn't just a peck. She stood on her toes, pressed her lips against mine, and her tongue hesitantly traced my lips. My mind went blank for a few seconds before I wrapped my arms around her waist and kissed her back. This kiss was nothing like the others. It tasted of rain and a desire that had been suppressed for far too long. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. "Lots of room for improvement," she critiqued. "We'll need more practice." My ears were on fire. "You seem pretty experienced." "You don't have to be a chef to know what good food tastes like," she grinned. "I watched a lot of tutorials." "What kind of tutorials?" "Kissing techniques, stuff like that," she said without a hint of shame. "I've been preparing to be your girlfriend for a long time." I looked at her, and my heart melted. "Chloe." "Yeah. I'm going to go study up to..." She laughed and punched my arm lightly. "You idiot." In the end, she went back to her own apartment to sleep. But just before I fell asleep, she sent me a text. "Good night, boyfriend." I stared at those 2 words and smiled like a fool for a solid 5 minutes. I texted back, "Good night, girlfriend."